Caden is obsessed with a digital sphygmometer that is blister packed and hanging to the left of the pharmacy counter. A sticker on the front of the package shows a digital metric of a heartbeat with systolic and diastolic peaks and valleys. It's something topographic, at least. Kate is interested and traces the up and down lines with his finger. We wait. The pharmacist is exasperated with the customer in front of us, who's pushing a stroller and seeking medication that was apparently picked up yesterday. The pharmacist, she has red hair, sighs into the customer service phone and declares she needs assistance. Spanish speaking, please. Red sighs over the PA. Cade turns and says, "Hey, Daddy," which is his usual perambulatory way of saying he has a question, else some 7-year-old insight. On the drive to CVS, it was, "Hey, Daddy, did you know that T-Rex had feathers?" Which is true, and Cade mentioned as much because we were playing an animal trivia game. "Hey, Daddy," he repeats. "What, T-Rex had feathers? We already covered this, dude, I know." The pharmacist is beyond impatient. "No, Daddy." And Cade raises his arms and makes a triangle above his head. So this is what music looks like when you play something on a high frequency, and then it does this in the middle. He holds his arms out flat, and then there's the low part. And it's more difficult making an upside-down triangle, but he tries. Cade's mistaken the sphygmometer for an odometer. At least he's confused the heartbeat with music, which is not really a mistake at all. The queue for the pharmacy begins in the skin cream aisle. I've always wondered if there's a tonic for feeling comfortable in your own skin. It could be the next aisle over. I'll have to check someday, but in the meantime, the lady in front of me is very confused that she can't pick up her script. Red is frustrated with the language barrier. On the PA again. "Spanish speaking, please." "Daddy, are we here for your pills?" I scratch my head distractedly, look sideways, and I pretend to consult the lesser PhDs, like Dr. Scholl, who stare back at me for a second from the fluorescent lit shelves. "Sure, monkey, yeah. This is a recent thing, the pills." But also Cade recognizing the pills, and right away, because he's smart and already manufacturing science experiments in his room. I'll explain the difference between a sphygmometer and an odometer later, but in the meanwhile, he gets things. My grandfather was institutionalized when he was 37. This is family history I only now know of, my grandfather's exact age at least. I've known of his time in the mental ward, and I've always had the picture in my head of a van retreating down a road, my grandfather in it. Always a dirt road, a tire gate, avocado leaves greening the manorway, and thin tires that rolled and spindled into the cinematic distance. There's a cow, forever and stubbornly in the periphery. The cow's a dumb addition my mind inserts to create something bucolic of the scene. Also, my grandpa was a dairyman. It's surely something we don't talk about. So I'm lost in the details. And I'm never sure if this is supposed to be something I think about in sepia. My granddad's son watched the van disappear down what was probably a long asphalt driveway and not a dirt road. He saw it in color. You see, there's a way that sons see their fathers as something both impenetrable and yet castles to be sieged. So with my grandfather in retreat and ferried down the driveway, and with my granddad most likely laying down in surrender, there being a bed and back, and him not standing up to his misaligned chemicals, or rather, my uncle saw his dad go away, and there was a castle fallen, and my granddad's son suddenly didn't have an edible opponent, or someone just comfortably smoking away in the great room, and damn it all, this is how children develop adult-sized holes. Jericho rides away in a van, and it's stamped Edgemore Mental Facility. I played a game of chess with my uncle when I was 7. It was a long match, and my uncle ashed his cigarettes into a Pepsi can while chuckling at my persistent games of pawns. He eventually won. It said we, my uncle and I, resembled each other, and my grandpa all at once. Walls are rebuilt. The body does this naturally with its own proteinase mortar. You build walls around infection to prevent further hurt. So like I said, I don't know much about the day my grandpa was taken away. Everyone who saw it in color has the appropriate scar tissue and says nothing. We don't even ask each other, how are you? Because that's just way too fucking personal. I'm bored, Daddy. I'll admit it's been a long wait. Cade's poking at the merchandise and we're due at a birthday party. Lady with the stroller is genuinely confused and her baby can't be more than 2 weeks. She has a sister, a friend with her, and they consult worriedly in Spanish. Red shoos them aside with a wave of jam-buried fingers. Next, she says, smiling at me. A clerk with jangling keys appears in order to deal with the stroller lady. Okay? Cade looks up at the pharmacy marquee, squints his eyes, and points to the subtitles. Farmacia, he announces. That means pharmacy in Spanish. Cade prances off to worry some more blister packs and nuisance the diuretics. I think he just schooled the register clerk without even knowing it. Red is relieved to see me, thinking she has just had an ordeal. Behind her is a machine that autofills benzodiazepine bottles. It hums and clicks on the regular. Red calls me hun. We transact. I give my birth date to Red as is required when you are requesting chemicals. June 4th, 1977. Cade reappears to reconfirm his status as the mathematician qua scientist of the family. He holds the ledge of the counter and barely appearing above it, he proclaims to Red, 1977. That means my daddy's 37. That's when Star Wars came out. The machine behind Red pours pink pills. There's an audible click and a white cap is screwed shut on an amber bottle. There are people in white coats floating about like pharmaceutical ghosts, and I have no idea what their jobs may be. Seems the machine has everything covered, and the front desk just gets mad at not being understood. Red, come back at 3. It's only 10:30. Machine must have a lot of work to do. The birthday party's in Lakeside, where my grandpa owned dairies, later real estate, and it's where my mom and uncle and 5 other siblings grew up. The party is in fact oddly close to my grandpa's old house. It's at an indoor playground in an anonymous corporate park. The park is a lot of white asphalt just north of a very beige quarry. The quarry sits near where the San Diego River dips underground in a geographical phenomenon I still can't figure out. Close by, there are palm trees that I remember being planted when I was 5. Full-grown queens that have their crowns tied until the roots took. I exit the freeway early so that we can drive through Santee, where I grew up, and so that I can point out the important things to Cade. He's been very interested in me as a 7-year-old, what television I watched, what foods I consumed. A drive down Mission Gorge makes me a seasoned tour guide. We'll get you an apple fritter from there someday, I say, pointing to Mary's, which is a sturdy concrete building in the middle of Santee's new architectural bent. Everything else around is looking like a Safeway. Mary's is the one stodgy throwback. They serve good coffee there. Speaking of, Wellbutrin and caffeine don't mix. Not for me, at least. Ads end with, you may suffer from, and what are listed are the affordable side effects, because suffering is a strong word that gets you on pills in the first place. I'm nauseous, a little, and I'm still figuring out the whole homeostatic thing. At least my body is. Sometimes I feel I'm me from the neck up, and everything else is a hitched up trailer. Let it figure itself out. Side effects include nausea, tremors, and appetence. I have all 3. So as I'm pointing out Mary's to Cade, I certainly don't pull into the driveway with its fainted parking lines and weedy side lot. A crueler would be cruel. Caffeine jets the Wellbutrin to a strange place, and although I'm perfectly safe to drive, there's this frenetic yet harnessed energy all at once. I want to round its corners, but you can't ask the barista, leave room for IPA. We passed the Ottavios, which is not Ottavios anymore, but a Filippi's. That's where we used to get pizza, dude. We, meaning a we that doesn't include him, so I shut up for a minute. The road bends and it whitens. There's a creation museum on the left-hand side of the road. God damn it, there are dinosaur models. Cade points out that T-Rex didn't live in the same geologic period as the Stegosaurus, both of which menace the topiaries in front of the museum. The plastic T-Rex doesn't even sport feathers, a fact that is quickly pointed out. Meanwhile, there's a drive-in movie screen next door to the plastic dinosaur, so we talk about movies instead. We need to see a drive-in movie someday, dude. I liked Big Hero 6. That was a good one. Are we almost there, Daddy? The highway planes into a flatter part. Soon, dude. I was worried about pills flattening me out. The thought that there would be just days, and never good or bad ones, just days. Before I couldn't stand the thought of prescribed numbness. But this is a good day, and I can feel it despite the pills. In which case, the medicine isn't exactly working. Genetically, I'm a redhead, a C16. Therefore, I'm almost immune to anesthesia. It's science. So, fuck you, pills. In 3 months, I'll be 38 and outside the window. I drive with my hands on the wheel and drive past the quarry. Cade and I remark the machines that dig the earth, and they're rusted and probably still the same ones from when I was younger and when I used to pass this upside-down river every week. Daddy, I can't wait for Funbelievable. It's where we're going, and it sounds like an advertisement for Prozac. Me neither, dude. I mean it. I truly mean it. After the party, we take a drive, and because we're near to my grandpa's house, I idle the car at the base of a long asphalt driveway. That's where your great-grandpa and grandma lived. Cade's impressed because there's a house there now, very different from what used to exist. A satellite dish, an RV out front. The landscaping is currently terraced, whereas before my granddad had just planted sea fig. I drive onto the dirt road circumferencing the property and try to show Caden the pepper tree that I used to climb. It's gone. There's a stump and a sapling, though. We drive bumpily on the dirt road until we again meet asphalt. I suddenly remember Post Hill Road, which is across the street from my grandpa's house and where there used to be avocado groves. I click the blinker and tell Cade to hold on. He says, I can't wait, and braces against the seatbelt. He says I can't wait a lot. I probably repeat myself too. Actually, I know I do, usually in the negative. But we launched the car down Post Hill Road and through the switchbacks, past the striated and half-quarried rock, on down to the highway. I know this road, and we hit the 67 dramatically, then even out on our drive back home. Thanks.
That was Thom Hofman. Give him a hand.